Basically, this is sort of new to me to talk in front of folks. I like to write and I like to read, but I'm not very good at reading what I write, just so you know. But I'll do the best I can. I'll probably wing it a little bit as well. I do want to thank Lori and the Mike Harvey Foundation for giving this opportunity, first of all. Lori asked me to talk for 2.5 hours. But I couldn't.
That's what I thought we'd have bar.
But I really couldn't come up with that much. But I would like to start with a poem I wrote as a tribute to my daughter. I actually wrote this days after she passed away. And I amended it a little bit this year, and I'll get into that in a little while. So you can bear with me, and if you find me too boring, maybe if I had been there, she would have seen a better way, to have longed to see the wonders of the birth of each new day. But with the darkness came her demons, crashing through her restless night. So dark she grew too blind to see the emerging day's bright light. Now that she's gone, we hope she's found the peace that was not there, as we are left to carry on, our souls exposed to all but care. Kate, we'll always miss you, wishing we could understand why you felt you had to leave us, why you did not seek a helping hand. You hid your pain for a long time while helping those that came your way. We wish you had asked for the help to find the strength to stay. Maybe if she had reached out to us, her days would not have felt so long. The weight of holding it all inside was too much to remain so strong. If she had found a way to see it through, she could have had a chance to welcome every day with hopes and dreams and a special happy dance. It can be hard to bear the pain that all our lives can sometimes bring. We love, we laugh, we hurt, we grieve, and find the time to sing. Kate will always hold you, wishing we could understand why you felt you had to leave us, why you did not seek a helping hand. You hid your pain for a long while helping those that came your way. We wish you had asked for the help to find the strength to stay. She's our bright star that waits for us at the end of our time. This gives us hope and helps us cope with the mountains we must climb. So now we move on bravely as we help guide others in her name, asking those who need some help to ask without embarrassment or shame. Yes, it can be hard sometimes. We will always feel her pain, but we find some peace as she looks over us while dancing in the rain. Kate will always love you, wishing you could understand why you felt you had to leave us, why you did not seek a helping hand. You hid your pain for a long time while helping those that came your way. We wish you had asked for the help to find the strength to stay. I thought I'd start with that because when I wrote this, I hope it helps you understand our feelings and our desire to see something good, something that, folks that go through the loss of a child, especially through suicide, I think you want to give back, you want to find some meaning in a tragedy, and try to prevent it from happening to other people. And that's why I wrote that. I read that sometimes. It means an awful lot to me. I'll get it a little bit now, but so it was on Monday, August the 29th, 2016, and near the end of my workday, when my life and the lives of my family, my friends, and my co-workers were forever changed. It was on that fateful day that my son Will, accompanied by several members of the military, arrived at my office. My initial delight at the unexpected visit quickly changed to concern, as it was clear something was wrong. It was then that I learned that I'd lost my daughter, Corporal Catherine Grace Harris, my Kate, had died by suicide on the weekend. On the surface, Kate was a happy, goofy, ambitious, caring young lady, full of hopes and dreams and looking forward to the future. However, on the inside, I have since learned that she was drowning in her depression and unable to continue to cope. She knew she could get help, but she chose not to. As I reflect on her life, I recall that as a child, she would have occasional panic attacks while sleeping, awaking in tears and screaming. She would often complain of not feeling well, although physically she would appear fine. Perhaps maybe you just didn't look close enough. As an adult, she would read a lot of self-help books. She regularly attend new career paths. She'd take on new projects, volunteer her time. She'd counsel others. In hindsight, we can now recognize that she was searching for the fulfillment that she could just never find. Kate loved counseling others. She would expose just enough of her own mental health issues to give her credibility, without sharing enough to give those closest to her cause for concern. To me, it seemed that she became a master at hiding behind her happy face. There's actually a song that I love to listen to sometimes. Brenda knows what I'm going to say. Smokey Robinson, Tears of a Clown. I love that song. If you ever listen to the words, it describes a lot of people that are suffering from depression. I won't sing it for you now. Listen to that song. We'll do karaoke. Yeah. I am told that as a young adult, she had made a previous attempt on her life. To this day, I struggle to recall if I knew this fact. I just don't know if she told me. Part of me thinks she told me, but I didn't hear it. I blocked it out. And that I struggle with every day. As a parent, I think we all, there's a tendency not to look at the bad. You want to focus on the good. And if there's something you don't like, you just don't hear it. And it's a denial from a powerful and destructive mindset. It is something that I struggle with. Over the last few years of her life, Kate would come home from Halifax at Christmas. These were magical times as most of the family would come together. Always lots of laughs, a little goofiness, and never a concern over her mental well-being. I can remember a shopping excursion Kate and I took to Masonville Mall. We were going to help me Christmas shop. We went into one of the trendy clothing stores where both Kate and the salesperson from the store just had a great time taking shots at me. I was doing my best grumpy old man routine, and they just loved my lack of fashion sense. Kate even pulled up my pant leg to display my socks and running shoes to the salesperson. I can still picture her delight, absolute delight, in announcing, "Look, he still wears white socks." Well, I can tell you, to this day, I no longer wear white socks. Thanks, Kate. What I learned later is while Kate loved her homecomings, on her return to Halifax, she would be exhausted and experience heightened anxiety. She'd crash. From the moment we lost Kate, I knew we had to get involved and try to make a difference. We as a family had a burning desire to see some good come from her tragic death. As an avid recreational cyclist, it made sense to ride for the love of Kate. With this objective, we planned for what was to be the longest ride in my 60 years, cycling from London, Ontario to Halifax, Nova Scotia. With the start of planning, my wife Brenda, as well as our kids, did express some concern. "Dad, you're not that young, you know." But it quickly became clear that it was meant to be. With my family's support, we planned for our adventure. Our first question was, who or what do we support? How do we ensure monies raised are going to a worthy cause? There are so many worthwhile organizations. I had learned of the St. Joseph Health Foundation Zero Suicide Initiative and met with some of their people. I liked their commitment to improving the treatment standards for those at risk of suicide and for their work to ensure patients receive the care needed to provide a positive outcome. This initiative is the first of its kind in Canada, and it has been receiving national attention. I felt that by supporting this, we could not only help raise funds for a worthy cause, but also could help people to become aware of its existence and its importance. To date, we are pleased to report that we have raised over $25,000 in support of the Zero Suicide Initiative. And perhaps more importantly, we are certain that we have had a positive impact on many lives. Ultimately, we would love to see some sort of national program based on the Zero Suicide Initiative. There are far too many people who are still falling through the cracks today. While cycling from London to Halifax, There were naturally many highs and many lows. When planning our journey, my initial objective was to ride alone to Montreal. This was in part because I am by nature an introvert, but also because by riding alone on this very personal journey, I would have the opportunity to reflect and to appreciate the mental and physical anguish associated with facing challenges alone, without any help from others. But ultimately, the best moments early on in my ride were the times that I had the most support. On the second day of riding, I had a friend cycle across Toronto with me, and on the fourth day, an old friend of Brenda's accompanied me. I also had visits with a couple of my cousins, 2 of my grandchildren, and even a meal with my brother's ex-wife and her husband. Not to mention the daily interaction with my parents or with my family and friends on the phone and through Facebook. The hardest moments were clearly the times I was alone. At times facing harsh weather and hills that were probably not as high as my mind was making them out to be. There was no question when you're alone and in a stressful situation, you are much more likely to question what you're doing and if you have the capacity to overcome your own physical and mental limitations. I can't imagine the strength it must take for people who suffer from mental illness alone, without having the strong support I benefit from on my ride. Arriving in Montreal, I was greeted by more of my family, as well as my wife Brenda, who drove from London to Montreal, pulling a small travel trailer for the first time. I was and am very proud of her. It was truly great to experience the love and support of my family while in Montreal, and I took a day off there as well. I left Montreal energized, and with the knowledge that Brenda was now close by and could rescue me if I fell or became lost, I was pumped. After 25 days and 2,200 kilometers, I arrived in Halifax on schedule. I was greeted by new friends, old friends, a lot of friends of Kate, Brenda, our dog, and my son Will, who flew into Halifax to be there. As I crossed the finish line, I looked over to realize that we had unintentionally completed our ride right across the street from the Army barracks that Kate worked at. It brought me back to one of my prior visits when Kate had given me a tour of the facility and introduced me to some of the fine soldiers she worked with. It was a very moving moment, and it brought me to tears. It was then that I realized that the end of the ride was the conclusion of not only the first part of our journey. There is still so much to be done. I would like to share with you just a couple of tales from the road. One day I was getting back on the road after a lunch break. This is an amazing story. I got to the highway, and instead of turning left, I turned right by mistake. And I started heading back the same way I had come. I was a couple kilometers traveling in the wrong direction when I came to the Tim Hortons at the edge of town, and I realized my mistake. So I decided to get my afternoon coffee before turning back and getting back on track. I had just sat down on the patio with my medium dark roast when I took up a conversation with a gentleman just a little bit older than me. I told him what I was doing and why. His jaw dropped as he told me he had lost his daughter to suicide years before, but he never spoke of it. We talked together for the next 10 or 15 minutes about family, loneliness, depression. It was a heartwarming experience that ended with me giving this stranger a big hug and I hope a renewed appreciation for his life. What I learned from it, it seems to me that even when you make a wrong turn, something amazing can come of it. So if you should make a wrong turn right, make the most of it and appreciate that just maybe that wrong right turn was in fact the right turn all along. On another day, I lost my cell phone while riding on a very remote path. I was almost out of water and about 80 kilometers into the day's ride under hot conditions. I hadn't seen anybody in hours, and when I went to get my phone to check the map, I realized it was gone. I knew I had checked it maybe 10 or 15 kilometers back, so I had to assume I left it there. I had no choice. I was turning back. Already exhausted, but resigned to the fact that I had to add another 20 to 30 kilometers to my day, I changed course and headed back the way I came, in search of my phone. Now remember, I knew it was at least 10 kilometers back I lost it. But off I went. And I lost my place. It's okay. So I headed back, and I was not even a half a kilometer from where I realized I lost it. And there it was, sitting in the middle of the path, waiting for my return. How did we get there? What made me check it before I'd gone any further? All I could say was, thanks. On another occasion, just at the end of one of my days, the server in a coffee shop asked about my t-shirt, which I'm wearing today, one of them. So I told her our story. She broke down. She told me that she had made several attempts on her life. She told me of her struggles, her frustration with getting help. I felt that Brenda could do more to help her than I could. So when Brenda arrived to pick me up, we returned to the coffee shop. They hugged for so long while Brenda talked to her and urged her to get help and to recognize the value of her life. It was a very special connection. On another day, I was passing through a small town and started speaking about the ride to a local man who was clearly down on his luck. He was so touched by our story, he insisted on giving me the last change out of his now empty pocket. It was less than $1, but the value of his gift was truly priceless. It just made my day. All along the route, we witnessed the very best of people. People showed us generosity and compassion. We were offered free accommodation at a luxury hotel, and several campgrounds wouldn't take our money. We received donations and support from complete strangers as we traveled, many of whom had their own lives affected in some way by mental illness. We experienced the best of humanity, something not always so apparent as we get caught up in our hectic daily lives. As I was completing the ride, I became very aware that this event was so much more than it wasn't so much about a bike ride. The ride was just a tool. It was a way to reach out to people and to get people's attention. Hopefully we have or will save some lives and enrich others. Even on the drive home as we crossed the border into the U.S., I gave one of our cards to the U.S. Customs officer. A few days later, she sent us an email with a donation to the Zero Suicide Initiative and some details of her own personal story. Wow. I do need to thank Brenda. We are each other's rock. Not only has Brenda done so much in organizing the ride, every day she was tasked with towing our trailer to the next destination and finding a local campground where we could call home for the night. She's also been instrumental in keeping the conversation going on our Facebook page, which has become somewhat of a meeting place where people are sharing their stories and offering help and advice. Thanks. Could we have done more to help Kate? Should we have been more observant and less dismissive of any warning signs? Should we have visited her more often? Would Kate have lived and thrived if she had been more open to sharing her struggles? All questions we just will never have answers for. All we can hope for now is that by sharing Kate's story, we can, in our own small way, increase awareness, help reduce the stigma associated with mental illness concerns, and hopefully help guide others to come forward and demand the help they need without fear of judgment or alienation. When Kate died, I remember being asked by my coworkers if there was anything they could do for me. My response was simple. When you get home from work today, hug your kids, tell them you love them. Personally, I think that's a great place to start. So as you ride down this road of life, if you should find yourself struggling to climb up the next steep hill, always keep pushing. If you need help to get to the top, ask for it, demand it. And always remember that at the top of that hill, no matter how far away it may seem, awaits the exhilaration of the descent. As I rode, I did a blog every day, set up a website. So every day I would sit down and read, collect my thoughts, and write a little story about the day. What happened? You're not even read a few of them.
All of them.
All of them, oh, thank you. And it was a way for me to help remember and to help other people know what was going on. A lot of them were more mental than they were about the ride. You know, it really became about the lives we touched and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to finish just by reading last excerpt from the last page of the last vlog. So for the love of Kate, for the love of you all, for the love of your family and friends, and for the love of yourselves, let's all ride through our lives doing what we can to help others, to help ourselves and others, to continue to work to remove the stigma associated with mental illness, and to ensure that folks who need help have it available, without fear of judgment, embarrassment, or shame. To all my friends, old and new, thanks for sharing your journey with me, with Brenda, and with our family. While I hope we have helped you all have helped us. Thank you.